10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm thankful that you're here with us on this Tuesday, November the 4th, 2025. Yes, we're already well into the first week of November. And after November, you got the 1 month, you got your Christmas, and then you got 2026. That's how fast time goes. And I can't believe it. Can you? It's going to be a great show today. As usual, we're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on terrestrial radio. We're also streaming live at cklu.ca on the internet. If you go to cklu.ca, just click on the Radio Player Canada app, stream us or download it and take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Also, while you're there, hit the donate button and whatever you are able to afford or you feel that you can contribute to keeping the lights on, the airwaves open with CKLU. It's much appreciated. Totally volunteer ran, been around since 1984. It's, it's the only campus and community radio station in Northeast Ontario. We are happy to, continue the tradition, but it's only because of you that we're able to do this. If you want to volunteer as well, you just have to email gm@cklu.ca and you're going to get Rob and you're just going to pitch him on whatever it is that you can do. So if it's not something financially that you can do, maybe there's some time or talents that you can contribute to CKLU, whether it's anything or even doing a show. Like you could do a show. It doesn't have to be like this. You can do a show on any subject that you're passionate about or that you might be a little bit knowledgeable about. So that's that. And we're also live on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow the channel, the page. We'll be found immediately following this show on demand on those two platforms, along with X.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.News, which is Sudbury's news aggregator, aggregating all the local news into one convenient web page. We're going to start off with a little bit of weather. We'll get your comments. We'll get news headlines from the news aggregator. And also we'll do some deep diving into, trying to make sense. Today's the budget, right? They're going to be releasing the budget for 2025, even though we began the show saying how little time is left of 2025. The budget is finally here. I'm not sure why it's taken so long, or it had to be so long. Money's already spent. I guess they're just going to tell us what they spent. And I guess if people don't go along with it, we're going to be heading into an election around Christmas time. Happy, joy for everybody. And who knows what can happen after that. Canada used to be boring. I mean, we used to have a boring country with boring politics, nothing really to see. I don't think it's been that way in the last little bit. And okay. All right. That's just, I'm just looking at some of the headlines right now. There was a toxic smell in the water, and then there's a headline that goes along with the water supply for where I just took my shower. Heavy arsenic levels detected. No wonder it had a smell to it this morning. But anyways, it is what it is. We cannot control what we cannot control. We're going to dive in with a little bit of weather. We'll be back with news headlines and more right after this. And as usual, Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently, it's 1 degree out there, and it's mostly clear. Today, mainly sunny. Wind will be gusting to 50 kilometers this morning, then late this afternoon. High of 8, UV index 2 or low. Increasing cloudiness, periods of rain beginning before morning. Low of +1. Wednesday, periods of rain or snow, ending late in the afternoon. Then cloudy with a 40% chance of rain or flurries. Wind will be gusting to 50 late in the afternoon, high of +3. Cloudy periods overnight, tomorrow night, 30% chance of flurries or rain. So beginning the wonderful weather that we have in Northern Ontario where you just don't know what you're going to get. It could be anything at any time. So Thursday, 3 degrees and sunny. Friday, 60% chance of showers, high of 1. Saturday, mix of sun and clouds, 0. Sunday, 30% chance of flurries or rain. And 1 degree is your high, -2 on Monday with a mix of sun and cloud. That's just your mixed bag. Couldn't have shown it any clearer with the week's forecast of this time of year's weather. You just never know how to dress, what to wear. You got to get your snow tires on just in case if anything can happen. Get the scraper and the brush in your trunk at least. You got to maybe have extra supplies and stuff for the winter. You make sure your windshield wipers are functioning properly. Make sure you got all that windshield washer fluid for the messy days. And make sure that it's the de-icing kind. Oh yes, the joys of living where we live. That is your Sudbury weather. Brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines and more right after this. Well, thanks for being on, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for commenting. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen. For those watching, read for those listening, if I can indeed read this morning. I need a little bit more light in here. However, we will do our best. Hey, kiddo. Great morning and blessings to all. That's Nana. Thanks, Nana, for being on. Hope you're having a great morning, along with Marianne from Barrie, liking and sharing as usual. And Monique, Grand Rising, good morning, Sudbury. And Pat, good morning, sunshine and y'all. And Hazel, good morning to you. And Maurice, good morning. Miles, good morning to you. And you also go on to say supply management, meaning our dairy cartel is shopping us from a deal with the U.S. The dairy cartel is shopping us from a deal, or stopping us, sorry, not shopping us. It's stopping us from a deal with the U.S. Now, along those lines, it's true. It's like a lot of the deals that were made within Canada with different industries and people with different agendas. People invest in different things and stuff. That's all going on behind the scenes. That's interfering with the negotiations for trade. But the thing is, our dairy products have really high tariffs on them, which forces Canada to buy Canadian because it's cheaper. If we didn't have really high tariffs on our dairy products, then lower priced American products would compete with our Canadian products, and we might buy more American dairy because it's cheaper, right? So it's just this thing that's been going on for a while, and maybe Trump has had enough of it, and that's the way it's going to be. So Belinda, good morning to you. You go on to say it requires wisdom to understand. Wisdom, the music is nothing if the audience is deaf. So wisdom, it requires wisdom to understand, and wisdom, the music is nothing if the audience is deaf. So, doesn't matter what wisdom is out there if you're not really paying attention to it or trying to absorb it or trying to acknowledge it and trying to live by it. If you don't hear it, you won't understand it. So you can have all the wisdom in the world and you won't obtain it, meaning the wisdom is out there already. Truth is out there. Everything is out there. It's a matter of what you're going to absorb and take into your own life or not, right? And so stop being deaf, y'all. Thanks for that, Belinda. Much appreciated. And it's like falling on deaf ears. They have ears to hear, but they don't hear, right? Those who have ears to hear, eyes to see. There's things you can know and learn if you're just open to them. Again, thanks, Belinda, for that. Sylvia, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Another beautiful day. Yes, it is for now. Until tomorrow. Larry, good morning. Fellow Canadians, good morning to you as well. Jerome, good, beautiful sunshine morning. I like that. Good, beautiful sunshine morning. And now I just lost my place here. Sunrise morning. Sudbury News, folks. Good, beautiful sunrise. Morning, Sudbury News, folks. Good morning to you as well, Jerome. And Larry, well, you are blacked out. We cannot see the program or you. I don't know. I'm okay on here on my monitor. I'm monitoring Facebook. So maybe it blacked out for a bit. Maybe it's back. I didn't notice. And thanks for being with us. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is where we share our views on the news that's going on in Sudbury, our region, our country, our world, and try to make sense of things that sometimes seem very complicated by discussing our points of view on it, trying to make sense of it. And we will get to our local news, and then we'll deep dive into something maybe to do with, Canadian politics, which the budget is coming out today. We'll look at that to some degree. Now, it's funny because someone yesterday commented on the show and said, AJ, get your facts straight, or something to that effect. And it's an hour-long show usually, around there, 45 minutes to an hour. So a lot of things are said. So if you wish me to get my facts straight, all you have to do is comment which fact indeed you are speaking of, and then I will be able to get the facts straight. And I don't claim to have all my facts straight, first of all, because I'm trying to figure things out just as much as anyone else is, trying to facilitate a conversation. And if you ever watch the show to any length, I encourage us all to find out for ourselves. I don't claim to be the arbiter of all truth and knowledge and facts. I just simply facilitate a conversation in the morning here in Sudbury about the news. Okay, and Marianne, Canada appeared to be boring, which is what they wanted. The masses are awakening. Okay, there you go. And Larry says, and who's going to take responsibility for the poisonous water that you just showered in? Not nice. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone's going to take responsibility for anything from here on in. I just don't. Okay, so Liette, good morning. Everyone from Collingwood, much appreciated that you're on. Great to see you each and every day. And Larry says, let's go. Bring it on with the weather. Don't scare me, only the humidity, LOL. We finally getting some sunshine in Barrie. Not sure how long, but first time in 6 days or 8 days. 6 days. Yeah, that's too long. And Grand Rising, Monique, thanks for being on. Larry says you only have sunshine till the army flies over top of Barrie. That's right. You're speaking of the weather modification programs, geoengineering, filling the skies with jet fuel filled with all kinds of chemicals in order to dim the sun to help with climate change. In which, and good morning to you, Brian. Good morning, Sudbury Patriots. Recently, you've heard, and I know you have, Bill Gates totally making a 180 on his stance on climate change. He now doesn't think it's the existential threat that he was claiming it was. It's not a threat to humanity, climate change. So if you're hearing this and you're a climate change activist, which we have many of them in Sudbury, many people have drank the Kool-Aid over the years, and you don't believe what I just said because you're like, what? Bill Gates could never say that climate change isn't as much of a big deal as he's told us all these years. Well, you just got to Google, why did Bill Gates change his perspective on climate change? And you'll get it. He's totally done a 180 on that. Now, why? We don't know. Are we skeptical on Bill Gates's agendas that he has? Very much so. Yes, the guy's got his fingers in all kinds of stuff, and part of his ideology, part of his major beliefs is an elitist belief that the world is overpopulated and needs to be depopulated. And so everything he does, you have to think of that's his goal. So what is he doing that's going to lead to that? And if you don't believe me, again, do your research and just talking about facts. There's been some studies done about if everybody who's ever been born, mathematicians, take the academics from the greatest academics there are with all the latest mathematical techniques, I guess you can say. So where we're at right now is if you took every person that's estimated to have been born ever since man has lived on the earth, and you stand them side by side, you could fit everyone in Switzerland. So let that sink in for a while. Anyone who's ever, not just people who live on the earth now, not just the population of the earth now, stand them side by side, but anyone who's ever been born anytime on this earth since the beginning of time, since the beginning of man, since whatever you subscribe to was that beginning, when we became who we are now, the species we are. You can line them up shoulder to shoulder and they would fit in the country of Switzerland, right? But Bill Gates, for some reason, still believes that the earth is overpopulated. He hasn't driven from Sudbury to Timmins, I can guarantee you that. Ever. Must have not. I don't know how anyone, or even driven from Toronto to Sudbury. Or Barrie to Sudbury, let's say. Barrie to Sudbury, Sudbury to Timmins, all the way in between those two towns. And then what about north of Timmins, for crying out loud? To James Bay. And then what about north of that? Very, very sparsely. What about taking a plane from one end of the country to the other? You could be Canada or the US. You're mostly going to see just acres and acres and miles of farmland is what you're going to see. So wherever they're getting this overpopulated whatever, it's an elitist point of view that's founded in eugenics is part of it, right? They want to cull the world of the dross of the world, the useless eaters, as they say. Well, Bill Gates is part of that belief system, right? So when he says, oh, climate change isn't as bad as I thought it was anymore, like what? He didn't have the science? What some paper came across his desk at some point that just gave him some fact that he overlooked at some point and went, wait a minute, it's not as bad as I thought. No, it's not. It's just now that he's going to be planning his next move, climate change isn't part of that. So he's doing his thing. His main thing is to depopulate the world. That's his main goal as a human being. That's what he believes. That's his religion type of thing. And so everything he does, you have to then say, well, could that possibly lead to his goal, right? And as I've heard one very smart person say it before, all these people who believe the world's overpopulated, you don't see them offering up themselves, saying, okay, one less person here. It's always the other people who have to be gone, not them. So that's really interesting as well, if you think about it, right? So let's just start off with a little bit of, because time goes by so fast, especially on the show. I remember first starting the show thinking, how are we going to get through an hour? Maybe we should make it a half hour, because how long can you talk about the news and your views on the news? But I guess I just like to talk. Okay, and so do we all. And that's why it's open for comments here. Continue to share your comments. As I was just reading Denise's comment here, I think this year's Remembrance Day, there was something issued on November the 3rd, 2025, honors the courage and sacrifice of the Sikh soldiers who first served in Canadian military during the First World War. More than 250,000 Sikh soldiers served with Britain and its allies during the two world wars. Yes, I remember having a back and forth on Facebook with Jagmeet Singh's PR person, because I knew it wasn't Jagmeet Singh who was commenting. And okay, like it, love it, don't believe it, whatever you want. The NDP in Canada is Canada's Communist Party. It is what it is. It's just, if you know what a communist political stance is, the NDP is the definition of that. They're Canada's Communist Party. It's okay to be communist, right? It's okay to believe anything. In a free and open democratic society, you can have a communist party. Now, in a communist society, you cannot have a democratic or open party that is about freedom, though. So just think about that for a while, right? So in a free, open, democratic society, we can have a communist party. That's the NDP. So I was on Facebook, and they were back and forth with me about, Jagmeet Singh's, how dare I say something that he's not about Canadian values, or I forget what it was at the time. It was back when we just started being divided, around the COVID era. And I said something like, to her response that, well, his grandfather fought in the war for Canada. And I said, well, yeah, but was he fighting for communism? What do you think he would think of his son's party now and what he believes? Was that what he was fighting for, do you think? If you were to ask him? I'd have to say no. And guess what she said to me? Nothing. She didn't respond. Obviously, how could you respond to that? Right? So I apologize if I'm missing anybody's good morning shout outs here as I'm getting through the comments, getting them up on the screen. So if you're listening on the radio and you're wondering what people are saying about the show, all you got to do is get on Facebook or YouTube. Mostly Facebook now. Facebook, the comments, at least a lot of them, they take a lot of them off after the show for some reason. They go through and edit some comments out. That's why I get them up on the screen, is so you can at least see, and only about 2.5 lines appear. So if your comments are more than 2.5 lines, or 2 lines and a bit, they won't get up on the screen. And good morning, Vin. Thanks for being with us. But that's why I get them all up on the screen. So that way, at least they're there and people have their say. And Sheila, good morning to you. Okay, so you got, one of the, I guess, things in the budget that are being announced that the Liberals are very proud of having is the fact that they're not charging the GST on first-time homeowners, I believe. So the headline here from Sudbury.com is Local Home Builders Association celebrates tax break on homes. The Sudbury and District Home Builders Association is applauding the province for removing the 8% PST on first-time home buyers on new homes valued up to $1 million. So yeah, we need more of things like that, right? Taxes are incredible. It's funny, I had a dream just made me think of this. I was purchasing something online. Forget what it was, but it was like $700 and some dollars, I think, something like that. And then when I went to the checkout, it was more than that. It was $100 more. And I was like, why is it $100 more? You know, why am I paying $100 more for this thing when the original price was 700 and something? And it was like, oh, it's taxes. That's right. And it's just in my dream, I had this clear awareness of taxes in general. And in this case, it was like the retail tax on a purchase of some kind. 13% in Canada, right? It's very high. And so I was like, 100, and I thought, the government is making $100 off this transaction I'm doing right now. Can you imagine? You were making $100 just because someone else went and bought something? For no reason whatsoever, you just made $100? Like, to me, that's a racket. Like, that's a racket at the highest level. Now, if you paid $5 extra, let's say if you spent $700 and you paid $5 extra to contribute to something in the country, okay, I could see that. Yeah, for sure, I'll contribute. But it gets to a point where more than 10%, I mean, even God only asked for 10%. You know, the government asked for way more. And it's incredible. It's just in my dream, and I'm explaining it to the people. I said, can you believe this? And I went on a big rant in my dream. But anyways, that just reminded me of it when this headline that we're going to get a tax break on new home ownership of the PST is now here. Okay, Judy, good morning to you. Andrew, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being on, everyone. Continue to comment. We're just going to go through a couple more headlines here. And as we said yesterday, this is coming from CBC today. Yesterday was from the Sudbury Star, I believe, or Sudbury.com. City of Greater Sudbury to turn off its 6 speed cameras on November the 14th. If you haven't heard, the City of Greater Sudbury is turning off its 6 speed cameras on that day. The same day the provincial ban on the traffic calming measures comes into effect. So they're waiting until the very last day. They're not jumping on anything. They're waiting till every last dollar can be milked from every single person who's going 5 kilometers or more over the speed limit past these speed cameras. They need to make as much money as they possibly can. Speaking of taxes, now these aren't even taxes. Now, the thing is, when you get dinged on these speed cameras, it's one thing. So this is right along with my conversation already. So you'll get, I don't know, let's say it's $100 fine. Well, they tack on like $30 service fees on top of it. So it's like a tax on a tax. So first of all, you're going 10 over the speed limit, which does not make anyone any less safe, but they're going to charge you however many dollars and then add a service fee on top of that too. It's incredible what we put up with as citizens when we're being taxed and we're being penalized financially over and over and over. And what do you get in return, really? What do you get in return? And when you look at the money that's going out to other countries, it's just like the misspending, and they go further and further in debt with your money they're taking, which then puts interest on our debt that you have to pay back. And they'll just continue to milk and milk and milk you until it's the circle of life, right? History repeats itself until everyone rises up and says, no, that's enough. That's enough. It just can't continue like this. It just can't. Now, when I say rises up, whatever, you can rise up the way I'm doing right now and just speak the truth about it and be informed and vote for different people that are going to, do things more in favor of living a good life rather than continue to tax and tax and tax till there's nothing left, like a cancer on everybody, right? So we have someone here, Mario, who we really appreciate all of his commentaries, right along these lines here, right? So here you go. What is our government? What have they been doing financially? Where are they leading this country? Where are we at right now? Well, listen to this.
To some other news this morning, a concerning new report from Food Banks Canada says increased levels of poverty and hunger are becoming normalized in this country. Food bank visits continue to rise across Canada, reaching nearly 2.2 monthly visits. That's double the number from 2019. CTV's Scott Hurst is on that story for us this morning, and he is with me now. Scott, this is a really concerning report that...
This should not be normalized. It's not normal. And this shouldn't be the way Canada is today. In fact, we have spent over $50 billion in EV mandates that are failing. This is a gross negligence. It's political gross negligence by the Liberal Party of Canada. Food banks rely on our after-tax dollars. Do you think we get a tax write-off when we drop off food? We don't. And what we're doing is we're subsidizing the failures of our government, plain and simple. It shouldn't be this way. Government gets to benefit from taking our tax dollars and taking our generosity for their failures. And meanwhile, we commit billions of dollars to other countries. It's ridiculous. You see, this is an accumulation of failed Liberal policies. It's a compound effect that has happened over years. And Mark Carney told us sacrifices need to be made. For starters, why don't we sacrifice the aid that we give to other countries and start giving aid to our own people? Guys, this isn't normal. This should not be normalized. This is not okay. We are not okay. We are facing a food poverty crisis. Why do you think the Liberal Party introduced a food program, a permanent food program for our schools and for children? It's to cover up for their failures. If the Liberals introduced policies that allowed for more investments into the country, to allow for lower taxes, to have high wage paying jobs, if we had controlled immigration, this wouldn't be a problem. Guys, they failed. Them putting out these new programs at your cost and your expense for their failures, it's not normal. Plain and simple, it's a cover-up. You should not be thanking them. You should be disgusted with them. It should be disgusting that we are at this point that we have to fund this type of a program in the first place.
But many people applaud it, right? Oh, we're feeding the kids at schools. You know, this is what we need. We need them to have a nutritious diet because they're at school and they need to learn, and they can't really afford it. What do we do with the people that can't afford things? And that's what a lot of people's arguments are against like a more conservative point of view. Like conservatives want to teach the person to fish. They want you to be self-reliant. But then people say, yeah, but there's people that can't. There's people like, they always say, oh, the people that fall through the cracks and whatever. However, if you're always making policies to the people, you know, to help those that are struggling, you're not making policies that are going to help build the ones that are out there that are productive doing things. In the end, if the more productive a society is, the people that struggle the most benefit because society is in a better way financially in all kinds of different ways. So, and, you know, people that do well oftentimes are the ones who are giving to food banks, and they take initiatives when they're doing well. And why not help more people to give them more opportunities for jobs so that way, you know, they don't need to rely on these food programs. The only reason they have to is because there's less jobs out there for people. There's high inflation. They can't afford anything. So these policies are leading to being in a situation where now we need to feed people. They can't feed themselves. Like, is that the kind of society that you want? So, okay, conservatives usually are, more self-reliant. They want you to be self-reliant. What's wrong with that? Now, if you can't, there's always things in place. And we have people that care about people. Government doesn't have to do everything for everybody. I think that's what ends up happening when we run into these problems. Is government doesn't have the solution to everything. People have the solution. And every town is different. Every group is different. You can't have one size fits all. And so you're just on a race to the bottom. That's it, a race to the bottom. The more you try and solve things, the more you're making things worse. Okay, so get out of the way and let people do their thing. Like, it should be government just supporting people in their actions, not doing everything for them, right? Because it doesn't work that way. Government just increased, so bloated right now. Justin Trudeau hired 100,000 more public servants. Do you see any of your services getting better when you call a government line or go into a government office? Do you notice way better services? No, it gets worse and worse and worse the more it grows. It just is. It's just common sense. Just observe it for yourself. Anyways, here's some Blender for you.
It's looking like Canadians could get a federal election for Christmas. With this in mind, I often get asked, how could any self-respecting person still support the Liberal Party? The answer is simple. Self-respecting people are exceedingly rare. After years of relentless propaganda, many have been taught to hate their own nation, its history, and even their ancestors. They've been conditioned to view patriotism as bigotry and self-preservation as selfishness. So it's not surprising that a large share of the population clings to a political class that feeds them moral validation while robbing them blind. Roughly 20 to 30% of society has gone completely mad, but it's not random. It's psychological self-defense. If you spent nearly a decade believing anyone to the right of socialism is a fascist, how could you ever admit you were wrong? To do so would mean acknowledging that you maligned half the country, friends, coworkers, family as irredeemably evil. It would mean accepting that you weren't the righteous one, you were the persecutor. Most people's egos can't bear that level of self-awareness, so they double down. That's why so many can complain about the cost of living, the housing crisis, and collapsing healthcare, while still voting for the very people who caused it. Cognitive dissonance keeps them loyal. To protect their self-image, they must rationalize every failure as someone else's fault. Conservatives, racists, misinformation, anything but themselves. The same psychology explains why some will never abandon gender ideology. If you once cheered for the chemical castration and mutilation of children, if you smeared those who tried to protect kids as hateful bigots, how can you ever admit that you were wrong? The moral weight of that realization would crush you. So instead, they must forever live in denial, rationalizing their role in something unspeakably cruel. The tragedy is that this madness isn't innate, it's learned. Years of state-funded media, institutional indoctrination, and social conformity have created a population terrified of admitting error. A society that hates itself cannot correct itself. And until Canadians rediscover both truth and self-respect, the insanity will only deepen.
So, budget will be presented today, which should have been presented at the beginning of the year when budgets usually get presented, but it's at the end of the year. So there's going to be a vote on it. And if it's a non-confidence vote that anyone other than the Liberal Party does not vote for, we'll go to an election. I know a lot of people out there that are in the know. They feel there's a good chance there's going to be an election, right? As Miles pointed out yesterday, they only need a few other votes in order to pass it. But there's still a good chance there's going to be an election. So this is the question we have. It's been the question for a bit. After 7 months of Mark Carney, what has he done? What's one thing you can name, your favorite thing that he's done for you as a Canadian? So Mark Carney, the person you voted for, or else he wouldn't be in there, right? Most people voted for him in Canada, or else he wouldn't be there. So there's a majority of Sudburyans who voted for him. We have a Liberal MP in Sudbury, so we know that. Most of Sudbury voted Liberal. Now, Nickel Belt area now changed its name federally, but the surrounding areas voted Conservative, right? So you can see a good chunk of the people that live in the surrounding areas of Sudbury wanted a change. But Sudbury, per se, is still voting Liberal, right? So I'll ask the people that voted Liberal, what has Mark Carney done for you? What election promise has he kept? You voted for him for a reason. Did he fulfill that reason that you voted for? Or do you were just happy that a new Liberal came around and you can continue to vote Liberal and it doesn't matter what they do? Doesn't matter how many scandals they're a part of? Doesn't matter how many dollars of yours they spend and where they spend it? Do you know where they spend it? Do you know what they do with your money? Do you care? You know? But again, if we just simplify it, what has Mark Carney done that's good since being in office, right? He's got his elbows up. He did the elbows up chicken dance after winning. His wife, when announcing him in his victory speech, said he's going to make Canada poor. And if you don't believe me, go find the speech. She says, my husband, he's going to make Canada poor. You know, they said it out loud. You know, he's an international banker with international investments that he has a million conflicts of interest. You just got to go to moosechart.com. If you don't believe me, if it's about facts, I need to get my facts straight, as one viewer yesterday said. There's facts there. So if you want the facts, it's not about me getting my facts straight. I'm encouraging everyone to get their facts straight, because we need to do our own research and our own due diligence. If we're going to vote for the people that are going to rule over us, we would want to be informed, right? So go to moosechart.com. And if you find misinformation on that chart, the person who is the author of that chart, who has every single financial dealing and every connection that our current prime minister has had and does have with companies and investments and the people that are in his network, all the connections there, and every campaign promise that he's made on that chart. So you can go look at that, and you can email him or message him if you find some wrong information on that chart. And what Blender just talked about, cognitive dissonance, if you refuse to see it, if you want to just block your eyes and just hope for the best, you can continue to do that, but just, I don't know how well you can fly a plane doing that or drive a car doing that. And we're driving our country right into the ground, right? If you refuse to see, you're just going to continue to drive right off the cliff. And you need to wake up, open your eyes, and look at what's going on around you. If you care. Now, don't complain afterwards. If you're at the food bank, one day soon, or you're foraging for food, as one report came out that said Canadians will be foraging for food as one of their main sources of food, foraging in the forest for our food. Very shortly, the parliamentary budget officer said we got about a year before we go into complete bankruptcy. That's the point of no return bankruptcy. That's like, no, we can't just kind of borrow more. That means we're done. We're cooked, right? So wake up, open your eyes. If you care, it's out there. Stop being political and just wearing your colored jersey. Look into these things. And I think that chart is a really great place to start. And it rhymes, right? So head on to moosechart.com, have a look, study it, message the author of it, which is David. Say, hey, David, I noticed you said that Mark Carney has these investments in this company and he was the CEO of that company on these years. Your information's wrong. Change it, because here's the information. Here's the right information, and find it for him, and he'll change it. It's just there to show us so that things are transparent, something that people want politicians to be. Well, it creates transparency, and that's what we should be looking for. So with all that, that's all the time we got this morning. I'll leave that question with you to ask yourselves, and we're going to just move on into Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM, and wish you all a wonderful Tuesday. And remember to stay aware, like, share, take care, and we'll be back same time, same place on the same platforms, God willing, tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone. Ciao for now.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.